Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today. Very excited to be here all with you guys. And if you weren't here for last week's webinar, I'd love to introduce myself again to each of you. My name is Chris Garrett. I am Asteroom's Chief Revenue Officer here. Very excited to be presenting this week's webinar discussing today's topic, which will be social media. As many of you know, we are doing webinar series that started for the first time last week. Each week, we're going to be covering how to help real estate agents stand out and win listings. And as we progress each week, we're going to be covering a different topic. So last week, if you missed it, was branding, which will be added to our Facebook community and on YouTube. So if you missed that, feel free to go ahead and check out that recording. And today's topic, we're going to be discussing social media and the usage of social media along with 3D tours and how that can help you guys stand out and win listings. So if you guys have any questions throughout the presentation today, feel free to write those down in the comments. And at the end, I'll be able to address any questions that come in. Well, let's jump right in. So social media has made it easier than ever to connect with your friends, relatives, and clients. With social media, you can share pictures, videos, and communicate with people. Social media in many ways has strengthened the fabric of society by bringing people together. Today, I'll be going through how social media can be used to help you guys stand out and win new listings. I'll cover some of the key learnings that we've uncovered here at Asteroom by supporting realtors just like you. And when used correctly, social media has the ability to absolutely transform your business by generating new leads that result in more clients and business. During 2020, social media became a critical tool for real estate agents, and it still is. Real estate, as I'm sure many of you are aware, traditionally is an industry that utilizes older school marketing methods, print advertising, for example, and relies heavily on in-person meetings. However, agents are increasingly embracing social media as a means to showcase their value and their properties, and they're all doing it virtually. And it's become an essential element in the time of social distancing, especially here as we unfortunately are seeing a new rise in COVID cases nationwide. A recent study conducted by a real estate website you may have heard of called The Close found that 44% of agents that gained new clients in 2020 found that it was due to them posting on social media. In fact, the second highest way that most agents get new clients is through social media, with the first being through referrals. That's the number one way most agents get new clients. So real estate agents who are embracing social media successfully emerge as the leaders in their community. While social media brands and influencers with huge followings tend to dominate much of the conversation, agents who invest in creating hyper-local content that resonates with their community can position themselves as market leaders. Many agents are also embracing top video marketing trends, such as 3D tour walkthrough videos that you guys get with each tour you use to make hyper local videos, which is often seen by hundreds of followers and shared all throughout Facebook with minimal ad spend. With 44% of real estate agents getting new clients from posting directly on social media last year, this is definitely one of the best. It's evident that social media platforms are not just a branding avenue. They're actually a great way to drive business for you guys, for new leads, as far as new listing referrals, as well as to help sell the listings you guys currently have. So let's first discuss some of the top real estate platforms, and then we'll get into what types of content work best on those platforms. Knowing which social media platform to use for your real estate business really depends on what you want, on who you want to reach and what you want to post. For real estate specifically, Facebook and Instagram are going to be your go-to applications. But try out all of them and see what works really for your best for your business. A general breakdown of each social media platform, which to some of you, you may be aware of all this, to some it may be new. But Facebook is by far the most used platform for real estate businesses with 2.7 billion active users globally. It's the best place for you to share your blog posts, new listings, and virtual tours that link directly to your website. Facebook actually accounts for more than half of all social media usage in the US, and it has the largest share of people between the ages of 30 and 49 of any social media platform, which fits really nicely with the average buyer and seller range. Instagram specializes in aesthetically pleasing photos and videos. So make sure you're bringing quality content when you're using this platform. The visual nature of social media sites means that agents can show off real estate listings, such as sharing your 3D tour videos or the 2D photos that you take of your listings. Don't underestimate the usage of Instagram stories for sure, which allow you to post all sorts of things, such as interactive polls, surveys, and questionnaires to help you further engage with your followers and clients. You can even directly, connect it directly with Facebook, so it makes it easier to automatically post between Facebook and Instagram. Because I believe Instagram is owned by Facebook. Next platform is LinkedIn. Frequently referred to as the business social media site, LinkedIn is an important way to stay connected to important business leaders in your community who may refer you new leads. LinkedIn provides your business with credibility, professionalism, and it's a great networking social media platform. It's a great place for you guys to post market trends, success stories, client testimonials, and it's also a great place to showcase your expertise and attract the type of clients that you're looking to serve. For example, maybe you're looking for real estate investors or mom and pop landlords or property developers. And since the real estate industry is built on connections, being active on LinkedIn and joining groups will pay back by your ability to widen your network. The next platform is Twitter. It's a happy medium between Facebook and Instagram. Thanks to the character limit, Twitter is really the home for short and effective messaging. And actually, if you didn't know this, it's actually the birthplace of the hashtag, which is, I find it very exciting because we're going to get into hashtags later today. And so Twitter is an excellent place for real estate agents to drive business and keep up with industry trends. It's a great place for you guys to chat and offer opportunities to network with peers, get answers to questions, answer other people's questions, and continue to learn about the ongoing developments in the real estate industry. And finally, the last one here, which may be the most unfamiliar to some of you, is TikTok, which is definitely one I wouldn't pass by. It's a China-based video sharing video sharing social networking platform right now that's mainly used by young people and is growing extremely quickly. If you're not familiar with it, you can post vertical videos, for example, of maybe your listing, or you can post, the 3D walkthrough video of your 3D tour on TikTok, all sorts of different video style content is great. It's a great way to stand out from the rest as it's an up and coming platform. Developing a social media presence on 5 platforms at once is definitely overwhelming and it's time consuming. To reduce that strain, I would suggest getting started on one platform first and then adding a second one once you're comfortable with the first. An active social media presence will help you build your brand so you can attract new home buyers and home sellers. With any social media network, consistency of posting is going to be critical for your success. Posting regularly to get eyeballs on your content and cash in on the benefits of that social platform is going to help you stand out and win listings. So once you master the learning curve on these platforms, if they're new to you, for example, you're going to be able to grow an active audience, and that's going to help boost your income and your reputation, as far as helping you sell homes more quickly and of that nature. So now that we've discussed some of the top platforms, which I'm sure most of those you're probably aware of, let's dive into, developing content and creating a social media plan. So coming up with real estate ideas can sometimes be tricky. So I've put together a list of a couple ideas here that you can see on the screen that are great ways for you guys to use as examples for content to be produced. Now, there isn't any single right answer when it comes to developing content, especially for different platforms. And the reason for that is because you need to decide what your objectives are and then align the right content with the right platform to achieve that objective. So when you're developing content, always keep in mind the goal of that piece of content and try to provide value. For example, let's say put yourself in the shoes of maybe a new home buyer who's already in the area who already may be in the area and is looking to move into that area. What do you think that they would want to know? For example, chances are someone's maybe wondering the same thing. So you can post content that when you put yourself in their shoes, you think will resonate well with them and provide value. So let's discuss your social media strategy, because that is going to be critical for being successful on any one of these platforms. And if you were with me last week, we discussed how to build your brand, which if you missed that webinar, I mentioned it earlier, it's on our Facebook community and YouTube. And it's going to cover a lot of how to build strategies that can also be incorporated into your social media strategy. So definitely don't miss out on that one. If you haven't seen it, check it out. But in general, when it comes to developing a social media strategy, there are 8 things that go into it that I would recommend you start with. And the first step towards building that strategy is going to be choosing the social media marketing goals that align with your business objectives. And how I would recommend you go about this is to set what I call our SMART goals. And the first step to creating a winning strategy is to set those objectives and goals, because without goals, you have no way to really measure your success or your return on investment. So what a SMART goal is basically, it's an acronym. So you can remember what the goal, how you break down this. It's like a goal framework. And actually, it's one of my favorite frameworks. I have a degree in business management, so we, utilize a lot of different frameworks, and this is one of my favorite. And it basically, the S stands for be specific, M is for measurable, A is for attainable, R is for relevant, and T is for time bound. So if you follow a framework like this, it's going to help you guide your actions to ensure that you're going to see real business results. So I'll give you an example. Let's say we're talking about Twitter. So an example SMART goal could be, I will use Twitter for customer support and lower our average response rate to under 2 hours by the end of the quarter, right? That covers all of those goals in the SMART goal framework. So after you've determined, your SMART goals, you're going to want to, I want to quickly touch on tracking the meaningful metrics. There are a lot of different vanity metrics, like number of followers and likes, which are really easy to track when it comes to social media, but it's hard to prove their value. So when you're looking at this, I would instead focus on things like engagement, click-through, and conversion rates. You're going to want to track different goals for different networks, obviously, to determine how well you're doing. So for example, I'll give you another example. If I'm using LinkedIn to drive traffic to my website, I want to track the click-through rates. And maybe I'm using Instagram to build my brand awareness. And so I may want to track the number of Instagram story views I'm getting. Or if you're using Facebook to advertise, I may want to track the cost per click. Things like that nature. So social media goals should align with your overall marketing objectives, and it's going to make it a lot easier to show the value of your work through social media and determine that buy-in if you have like a large team or managers or anything like that. So the second step to determine your social media strategy would be learning everything you can about your audience. So creating your audience personas so you know who your audience is and what they want to see on social media is going to be key. That way, you know what kind of content they like, what kind of content they comment on, share, and you can turn those social media followers into customers of your business. When it comes to targeting your customer, you should look at some of the basics, which are to develop that target customer profile: the age, location, average income, maybe job title, industry that they work in, interests, that kind of thing. So build out, audience personas. Next is I would look at your competition. Odds are most of you, if not all of you, have competitors that are already using social media. And that means you need to learn what they're doing. So I would conduct a competitive analysis, which allows you to understand who the competition is and what they're doing well or not so well on social media. So this will give you a good sense of, what's happening in your local area, and it'll help you spot opportunities, such as using 3D tours in your social media posts. It'll help you stand out when you do so. For example, if your competitor is dominant on Facebook, but they're not using 3D tours, that would be a great way for you to be unique in that nature. You can also, look for things like maybe your competitors are not focused on some of the other networks. Maybe they're not doing a lot on Instagram or Twitter, and you can find underserved social media platforms. Next is you're going to want to do a social media audit. Now, when you're doing this, you want to look at and take stock of your efforts so far. So how are you doing right now on social media? And I would ask yourself, a couple questions. First, what are you doing that's working, and what are you doing that's not working? Then who is engaging with you currently? Who do you want to engage with you? And what networks do your target audience use? And finally, how does your social media presence compare to your competition? And once you collect all this information, you'll be ready to start thinking about the ways to improve. And it's going to give you a great, clear picture on what purpose each of your social media accounts can serve. And if the purpose of an account isn't clear, you can think about, whether it's worth keeping. And so every social media platform may not be good for every person. So to help you decide, I would ask myself a couple questions. First, is my audience on this platform? If so, how are they using this platform? And finally, can I use this social media platform account to help me achieve my goals? And that's going to really help you keep your strategy focused. Now, the fifth step of the 8 to creating a social media strategy will be obviously setting up those accounts and profiles. So once you decide on, which networks to use, if you haven't already created an account, go out and do so. And here's a pro tip for you, which I'm sure very few people actually do, but I would suggest you write out a mission statement for each network. A 1-sentence declaration of what you're trying to focus on and that specific goal for that platform. And if you can't create a solid mission statement for that social media channel, you probably want to ask yourself if it's worth it. Just to make sure you're spending your time and effort on the right things. Now, after you've done this, the 6th thing I would recommend is what I do is find inspiration. It's important to make sure your brand's unique, but you can always draw inspiration from other businesses that are great on social media. I personally do this when looking for inspiration, and there's a couple things I typically tend to do, but you can do anything. Inspiration can come from anywhere. One thing is I'll look at social media success stories. So I'll find other businesses that are really doing well on social media, or maybe your competitors, and like break apart what their success stories have been. You can look at things like case studies, that businesses will put out for that. Next thing I'll do is I'll look at award-winning accounts or campaigns. So if you go into Google and you type like Facebook awards, they have awards every year for the top brands and campaigns. Another thing's the Shorty Awards. Those are great ways to look at what top brands are doing. Even if they're outside of real estate, you can pick up things. And then the last thing is look at, your favorite brands on social media, what they're doing. Oh, one other thing I forgot to mention, which is obviously very important, is ask your followers. They'll give you a lot of inspiration. So ask your target customers what they're talking about online or what they want to learn about or need, and communicate with them. After this, the 7th step is going to be making a social media content calendar. So sharing great content is absolutely essential. Of course, sharing 3D tour content is very engaging online. It's definitely something that will help you stand out, but it's equally important to have a plan in place so you know when you're going to share the content to get the maximum impact. A social media calendar, content calendar, is basically a calendar of when you're going to post things and what you're going to post. So it can be the dates and times, it can be different platforms that you can use, and it makes your life much easier because you can spend 2 hours putting it all together and do all the posts for like a week. The one thing to ensure when you're planning your calendar is to ensure that you incorporate the time to actually respond to these platforms. So a great way to think of this, and I'll get into a calendar tool later, is to determine the right content mix. And there's a couple of ways you can do that. 2 of the ones I would suggest are one's called the 80-20 rule, where 80% of your posts inform, educate, or entertain your audience, and 20% of your posts directly promote your brand. The other suggestion I have is used by a lot of brands. It's called the thirds rule, where 1/3 of your content promotes your business, converts readers, or generates profit. 1/3 of your content shares ideas and stories from thought leaders in the industry or like-minded businesses. And 1/3 of your content is personal interactions with your audience. So it's up to you to determine, that kind of mix and content calendar. And the final step for a great strategy is evaluate and adjust your strategy. So look at the performance after you've done things. It's highly important that you ensure that you continue to work on improving it. So after you implement your plan and track the results, you may find out some strategy just didn't work out as well as you intended, while maybe others exceeded your expectations. So you can look at the analytics provided by each network. You can add UTM parameters to your website, which allow you to track how people go through your website. But in general, reevaluate, test, and do it again. So you're always trying to learn and improve based on what you did before. And the last tip I'll have for you guys is not related to the actual strategy, but NAR has a great resource. They have what is called a realtor content resource. So if you go to Google and type NAR content resource, it'll be the first link you'll find. And they have all these articles in there published by experts with stats that you can pull out and add to your links along with your 3D tour content. And it's going to help you stand out in social media and be viewed as an expert. So let's discuss Facebook, right? So Facebook is the king of social media. I'll start by covering some of the great types of Facebook posts I would recommend. To start with Facebook posts, a great rule of thumb I always recommend is by having Facebook posts that won't bore your audience and will keep your real estate business attractive to new leads. I threw up a couple post suggestions that I like. It's by no means a hard rule. You can play around with it and be creative. But my 5 posts that I've seen very successful with other agents is starting with real estate tips related to buying and selling homes for inexperienced individuals. The second one's holding or showcasing local businesses and events happening in the community. Third is holding giveaways or contests. It's a great way to build awareness or drive engagement if you're moving up to an event or launching a new social channel. Fourth would be posting real estate stories or testimonials from previous clients you have and their experience. So for example, you could post a story about how you used a 3D tour and it resulted in your client being able to sell their home, really quickly and for more than they listed. And by doing so, you're going to really showcase the value you bring as an agent, both through that testimonial, as well as showcase what you can do with others. And the last one is post professional images and graphics of new homes that maybe are your listings that you're selling, as great listings are going to help you get more great listings because people want to work with people that do well when they market listings. The one thing I will mention, because I do think it is important, is you want to try to avoid overselling your audience. Yes, the main objective to your business is obviously to sell homes, but social media is a long-term play, and your audience is going to buy a home when they're ready, or vice versa, sell. So there's no real point in trying to push for a sale when your followers aren't looking to buy or sell. So oftentimes try to give your audience value and increase your awareness so that when the time does come, you're the first person or your brand is the first thing on their mind. Now I mentioned hashtags before, and I've got a whole slide on it because I think hashtags are often misinterpreted as a tactic with the sole purposes of increasing likes on social media posts. While hashtags bring more engagement to your content, they also will help you facilitate discovery on social media. So they're a great avenue to potential customers to find your real estate brand. And using the right hashtags can mean the difference between 20 people viewing your post or 200. And you can use a lot of really good real estate hashtags for your content as an excellent way for homeowners and buyers to find out about you. And it's an even better way to discover potential buyers and opportunities for your business. Since Instagram, we'll talk on Instagram first, allows only 30 hashtags per comment, I've included, I think it was 30. I'm hoping it was 30 up there for you guys to use. And I would recommend you guys do two things. Here's two really big tips. The first is do some keyword research when choosing hashtags that are going to be really relevant to your real estate brand and target location. You're going to want to experiment with your hashtags to figure out what the best mix is. Now, I wouldn't recommend every single post you do have 30 hashtags on it because that's going to seem a little excessive. Some, yeah, you can have that. There's some research I found online that recommends between 9 and 11 hashtags are optimal. And your hashtags if your hashtags aren't generating the engagement you hope for, there's some great hashtag tools out there that I would recommend you guys check out. The first one is called Hashtagify. It's a popular tool that makes suggestions for Twitter hashtags, as well as allows you to track and analyze hashtags. The second one is called WriteTag, and that offers hashtags suggestions for images or text on any site. And that uses real-time engagement data. And the best part, both solutions, I'm not being sponsored by them anyway. I just think they're great solutions. Both offer free trials, and I think it's a great thing to check out. So next, when we're discussing content, a great thing I would recommend is including quotes in your content. So up here, we've got two quotes here. We've got your real estate agent quotes. If you want to develop quotes, you'll become seen as, authoritative figure. This one's by Barbara Cochran. She's very famous out of New York. The second one, this is what I put together. This is a great way for you guys to leverage your 3D tours. You could put agent testimonial quotes like I did here. So what I did is I took a simple screenshot of that dollhouse view. And then if you're on a Mac or PC, when you have an image, you can add text to that image with the native, I'm not even sure what the platform's called. It was just the photo app. So you can add quotes in there, and next week's webinar, we've got a lot more examples showing how you can design this stuff. But using that 3D tour content in a format like this is not oftentimes used, so your content's definitely going to stand out. And since you know, all you guys are running real estate businesses and you know how difficult it is to come up with this content, these testimonials are great things to include and a way to improve your overall content strategy. Real estate quotes can be turned into image quotes like I've shown you up here, and you can definitely leverage your 3D tours for these. The types of images that have been shown to gain up to 20% more engagement are actually, with our clients' experience, of course, are the ones that show the 3D tour versus any 2D still shot of the house. Overall, on any platform, the engagement is a lot higher. And oftentimes that's because it stands out, it's unique, and people know that there's more to it, so they can go and view the tour. So there's many different types of realtor quotes you can include. I've just used a couple examples up here, and you can use customer testimonials and become very creative with this kind of stuff. So, as I'm sure all of you are aware, time is always a scarce resource. So maximizing your efficiency is important in utilizing real estate, especially social media marketing. There's always something else you could be doing, and you can, and if you can spend less time creating content, you can spend more time closing deals, finding new leads, creating 3D tours, that kind of thing. There's a couple, well, actually, there are a ton of real estate marketing applications that can help you maximize your exposure to buyers and sellers, new clients, and save you time. With the amount of technology and resources available today, you're really going to have the ability to simplify and automate this entire process and really lower that barrier to creating great quality content without it taking a lot of time and money and effort from you guys. So I've used a couple, thrown up a couple companies up here that I've used before that are pretty good that I can vouch for. So the first is getting professional photos for social media can oftentimes be difficult, expensive, and tough to do. So the good news is there's sites out there that can help you with this, that offer free stock images. For example, maybe you want to use a stock image for Instagram, right? And you want to, you can use one of the sites I put up here that are great. There's 3: Stock Snap, Unsplash, and Burst. And a great thing is you can add those quotes that I mentioned, right, on the last webinar. Now, another great thing I'd recommend is you can actually, this shot right here is a screenshot from a 3D tour. So let's say you have a 3D tour where the home, you want to highlight a feature. Maybe they put in a new countertop. Maybe they redid the floors. You know, maybe you want to accentuate the backyard, or maybe the den or wine cellar or something of that nature. You can pull out screenshots from your 3D tour, and you can even add tags in your 3D tour, so it makes it stand out. So I didn't do it on this one, but for example, maybe I wanted to touch on the countertops. I could add a tag in the tour and then take a screenshot of that, and you can add text to it. Says it, learn about the new countertops, right? And it just adds a little bit extra to these images to help you stand out. Now, the second piece of this that I would recommend you look at is related to the consistency of your social media posts. No matter what strategy you're following or what channels you use, you're going to want to be consistent in your posting. It can make a huge difference in your performance. Having a consistent post schedule is essential, and it's definitely very difficult to do. I'm keenly aware with your guys' schedule is always changing. So what I would recommend you guys use is, when you create that content calendar that I discussed, is there's tools out there to help you publish on these platforms. There's 2 tools I'd recommend: Buffer and Hootsuite. Here at Asteroom, we use Hootsuite actually. And they're great tools that allow you to schedule your social media posts ahead of time. So then what you can do is you can pull in, you can develop all these unique posts, schedule them, and then during the week you can spend your time, engaging with people on these channels, which is a great thing to do. So. Now, I'm not going to go too much into this, but I do want to touch a little bit on it this week, and that is advertising. Facebook offers more than just a social media environment for people and pages. It has access to an enormous amount of valuable data that allows you to be very effective in your advertising. And I'm not going to go into a lot of detail this week because next week's webinar is all about advertising and how 3D tours can be used in advertising on a variety of platforms to help you stand out and win listings. But what I will cover today is a little bit around Facebook and some of the imagery you can use. So for example, here we've got a partner here called AdWorks that works with us here at Asteroom. They develop ads using your 3D tours, which if you're interested in that, you can contact me afterwards. I can share more. But use 3D tour screenshots in any of your ads or your walkthrough video here. For example, you can see this here on Facebook. And the reason for that is it will end up lowering your cost of acquisition, increase your online engagement, and it's going to produce better results for your ads overall. And that's what we've seen with many of our agents that are doing this, as well as to our partner advertising brands here like AdWorks that I mentioned. So next week, like I mentioned, I'm going to cover a lot more in advertising, and we'll get really into the weeds on this stuff and help you guys out. But in general, 3D tours, especially that 3D dollhouse, are seeing typically, 20% or higher in conversion rates, depending on the platform, and a 33% reduction in acquisition costs compared with other ad types. For example, if you did a 2D still image. So join me next week for that webinar and try to use this kind of content. It's going to help you guys stand out. People like to interact with realtors in new ways. So being available to communicate through social media is going to be one of their best ways to generate new leads and new listings. By being yourself on social media, you're able to relate to your prospective clients and show them what makes you unique. When people get referred to you by some of their past clients, by some of your past clients, oftentimes the first thing people are going to do is they're going to go check out your social media platform to learn more about you prior to even reaching out. So chatting with your followers and growing your audience to build an engine will build an engine for new business for you. There's countless ways to use social media to interact. So my recommendation is to find out what works best for you, follow that social media plan that I discussed today, use some tools to make it easier for you, and evaluate and iterate as you go. The one thing that's going to set you apart when it comes to social media is when you use your 3D tours online. The response you're going to see from views, likes, shares, comments, and other general and great engagement is going to astound you. So be consistent with whatever strategy you end up deciding to go with, because it's going to take some time to establish yourself. So don't lapse in your posts. Don't do it for a couple weeks and then decide it's not working. It's going to take some time, and those that are consistent will end up seeing the fruit of their labors. Social media can be one of the best ways to generate that new business for you guys. And I would definitely not overlook using social media, even with your busy schedules, to generate that new business. As I mentioned before, 3D tours is definitely the imagery can definitely set yourself apart and set you up for success. When nationwide, only about 5% of listings have 3D tours, you can really start to see why you guys are going to stand head and shoulders above everyone else, because surveyed buyers are saying 97% of them say that they wish the listings that they were looking at had 3D tours, and that's just as helpful for people that are looking to sell, right? So you can talk about how your 3D tours are going to help them, sell their property for more money more quickly. There's a lot of data out there supporting that, coming from our partners like Zillow and whatnot. And Yeah, so definitely get out there, use social media. And that concludes our presentation, my webinar this week on social media and how you can use it to stand out and win new listings, how you can set yourself apart from the competition. For example, you could be known as that top agent who provides 3D tours for every listing to attract new clients who are interested in working with agents that have a proven method to sell their home the fastest and for the most. Good quality listings and a strong social media presence will help you attract other listings and clients, even in this market with so few listings. I'd like to thank you all for joining me this week on our second webinar. Like I mentioned, this is being recorded, so if you missed it, it'll be up on our YouTube channel and on our Facebook community, so you can check it out there. And at this time, I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have, so to go ahead and leave them in the comments. And I've thrown my email up there, so if you guys want, specific topics in the future, feel free to reach out, let me know. Or if you just want to chat, I'm always available. So feel free to reach out anytime.